I took every single image I could find from Hawkins Lab in Stranger Things and then analyzed them all down to the smallest detail, all so I could build this in Minecraft. And I didn't just spend 4 months building the outside, I also made a full interior based on its real-life location, a former mental hospital called the Georgia Mental Health Institute. This hospital supposedly housed the criminally insane? At least that's what they say. So I decided to dig into it, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, quick note for parents. Stranger Things isn't for little kids, so if yours is afraid of monsters, don't let them watch this video. Stranger Things Season 4 is chock full of mental health imagery and themes. Eleven's and Max's stories remind me of some of my own life experiences and realizations I had when I was in therapy. And while it might seem odd to talk about personal issues in a Minecraft time-lapse, they're very much part of the story since making this video has led me to a decision about my future on YouTube. But more on that later. To begin the build, I needed to figure out the scale of the building on my own. I use these privacy screens that cover every window as a unit of measurement. The texture pack I'm using is the Harkenberg Resource Pack because it does a great job with all the office building textures I needed to approximate this prime specimen of 1960s brutalist architecture. And, by the way, I had to do this quickly because I'd given myself a month to build this because I'd gotten a hot tip from someone in the know that Stranger Things was going to release in July, and I wanted to release when people were looking for that kind of content. I built the main floor's foyer, where Bob dies. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture the building process on camera because of a software bug, but this is what it looks like all finished. Also, this was about all I was able to build with the dozens of screenshots from the show because I still had no idea what the inside looked like. It was about as confusing as watching Hopper explore Hawkins Lab from several different directions at once. Oh, sorry. Guess you can't unsee that now. Well, thank God for YouTube! And for the people who will do anything to become famous, even breaking and entering. Seriously, there's tons of these videos of people just walking around inside like they own the place. A family even got in on the act, kids and all, which probably wasn't a good idea if they didn't want trespassing added to their kids' rap sheet.
Oh no, who are you?
Still, those videos were enough for me to piece together a basic floor plan of the first floor. At this point, I have about 9 days left to finish this by July. I mean, odds are it's not going to release on July 1st. I'd have some buffer time. I just wasn't sure how much. Come to think of it, the lack of time was also a big theme in this season, wasn't it? Max didn't know when Vecna was going to come for her. Time dogged her, and I thought it was kind of an interesting little coincidence that time keeps doing this to me with my own Minecraft projects. With the first floor complete, I cloned it and pasted it in as the second floor and then made changes like removing this nurse's station and moving the conference room closer to the windows to form a hallway. The second through fourth floors are mostly identical, so the only changes I had to do after creating them was to customize the floor and wall colors to differentiate them. That way, if someone manages to turn this into a PvP map, hint hint, you'll know what floor you're on. For my next trick, I wanted to put the room where Dr. Owens examined Will in Season 2 in its actual spot where they filmed it. So with the aid of this breaking and entering video, thanks guys, I was able to compare landmarks like the tile color, wall greeblies, and elevators with those in the escape sequence, and presto, I calculated that Will's room is probably located in the southwest corner of the south wing on the top floor. So there you go, strangers. If you didn't know that already, now you do. To build the roof, I added a gravel ballast and then filled out the stair house and added the other bulkheads. Since Minecraft doesn't have adequate pipe objects, I used walls to simulate the power conduits and other piping that can be seen on the roof. Then I began shaping the satellite dishes using the Season 2 layouts, because the Season 1 layout is completely different and I don't think it's as nice looking. I experimented with different ways of creating the antenna's receiver array and settled on invisible chickens tied to leads. That looked good, so I placed the rest of the antenna and roof objects, building towers and such, and moved on to detailing the main floor. And shoot. That's when I ran out of time. So it's July 2021. Surprise! It's a full year actually before Season 4 Part 2 comes out. So turns out my hot tip was right. It was just a full year off. And I didn't know that yet as I'm building this. So I was feeling a lot of tension because Stranger Things could drop any day, and I just failed my goal to complete this in a month. That's important to me because to make a business out of this YouTube channel, I really should be releasing at least one build video a month. Now I can hear some of you thinking, oh, but surely you could have done it in a month if you'd knuckled down. I mean, even I was thinking that, but you try doing this with 2 toddlers and a day job. Still, I was optimistic back then. At least when finishing the main floor off, I got to build my favorite room in the whole complex. A lecture theater complete with 1970s decor, and it actually exists. I want to see this room in real life someday, because I think it's pretty cool. Finally, I tackled the basement where Hopper sneaks into the lab, which is pretty labyrinthian. So which way does this go again? That's my hand-drawn floor plan of the basement. I made it myself, which might explain why I kept getting turned around. It's a maze. You know what else is a maze? The history of psychiatry. Well, let's settle for Georgia's history of psychiatry. All mental health patients in Georgia were funneled through a single state system with one state hospital for over 120 years. Central State Hospital started out as a good thing by keeping the mentally ill out of jails, but by 1959, it had become so understaffed that some of its 13,000 patients were literally helping to run the asylum. The place was a hellhole, so Georgia started decentralizing their system. In 1965, the Georgia Mental Health Institute was built, and it became part of Rosalind and Jimmy Carter's community mental health movement in the 70s. These regional mental hospitals took in patients, and they started out as a good thing too. But after funding ran out, the Georgia Mental Health Institute turned into what people in the psychiatric industry like to call a revolving door. Mentally ill go in, mentally ill go out, but the mental illness stays. Psychiatry moved on with their biological revolution, and the Mental Health Institute was bought by Emory University in 1998. They thought it'd make a great campus, but the buildings were so decrepit it became a money pit instead. At least until the film industry discovered Georgia. And all of that is why it looks like Arkham Asylum in all those YouTube videos of the inside. It's not because it actually housed a rogues gallery of criminally insane Batman villains. Instead, this is all a very simplified way of saying that it's because real life happened. Sorry to disappoint. Both the community mental health movement and the Central State Hospital were state-of-the-art advancements at the time, but became less effective over time to the point that they had to rethink things. So that next advancement or social change that comes right over the hill, it's going to be a terrible thing in about 20 years. Everything runs in cycles. Entropy happens and renewal becomes necessary. Next up, I had to make 2 lab sections because the show implies there's 2. I tried very hard not to have 2, but I think there have to be, and here's some nerdy reasons why. First, we know that the lab complex we see in all 4 seasons cannot fit within the building's footprint along with all the non-classified office space we do see. It's just too big, and we know the gate room is in the sub-basement because the season 2 Hopper is seen fleeing it and opts to take the stairs instead of the cargo elevator. But the first season lab that Hopper breaks into is located on a floor above ground, and the second season lab that Jonathan and Nancy and Dr. Owens walk from appears to be right next to the gate room in the sub-basement. Why? Because Jonathan and Nancy and Dr. Owens also continue a conversation from the hallway right into the gate room. So therefore, geography implies that there are at least 2 different labs. Now that makes a lot more sense to me. Makes sense to you, right? No? Oh. Okay, well, you know how you have this negative voice inside of you that shows up every time I don't know, do something awkward, and it's not like someone else might do, kind of like this whole video. Well, that's this guy. That's this guy. Anyway, let's build the gate room. You don't ever get a slow pan across the set, but by comparing shots, I was able to get a sense of the geography of the place, which is what I think good cinematography and editing do. Next, I copy and pasted the lab from above down here and made some subtle changes to connect it to the hallway. I also included the room Hopper was held in after getting caught because I didn't have room for it above. And then I built a version of the Rainbow Room based on an early season 4 trailer. Yes, some of the details are wrong here, but I'm building this nearly a year before season 4 part 1 came out. So let's cut over to me fixing them now, which I recorded just after part 2 came out. I suppose you can tell by now that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and leaving that plug in is gonna kill me. With the Rainbow Room complete, I cap off the sub-basement hallways, and I'm wondering, what is the point of these? Where do they go? And what am I still doing here 4 months later, still working on the same build? I want to build a business out of this stuff, and this is taking too long. And when you work years toward a goal, that fake smile you stick on to help you get through the day kind of stops working after a while, and you start losing hope. And that's what happened here at this point. The Venn diagram of the time I need to make awesome builds, doing it on a monthly basis, and living the life I have was just not intersecting, and it became painfully clear. And it was dredging up old ghosts I thought I'd put behind me with therapy. Old ghosts that are still living rent-free in my head because it's still painfully clear. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't think this channel is gonna be successful anytime soon. And that's a little depressing. It makes me want to quit.
You will fail. watch this. You'll be stuck forever. You should just give up, and you'll never make a difference.
You know the thing about trauma? It's real. It stalks you relentlessly. It can capture you, feed off you, hound you. It trapped me in my fears of failure and need to control so that I couldn't see the root issues holding me back for years. The ghosts of my past haunted me, reminding me of those terrible times where I was mocked, made smaller, and humiliated. My ghosts had no peace, and no one could provide them peace. Like there was no way out. So I did the only thing I could do, and I got numb. And when people get numb, they end up stuck living in someone's basement with a weed or drinking habit just to get through the day. Because it dulls that hideous, monstrous voice. But what trauma doesn't tell you is that it's not as scary as it sounds. Often he's nothing but a scared little boy, scarred and damaged and maybe a little vengeful. He tries to control because he feels so out of control. Often he is the version of yourself that is trying to protect himself. He doesn't need your anger. He needs your protection. Because you're older now and a little wiser, and as ugly as he might seem to you, he is part of you. And that means you don't have to be at war with yourself. Your life doesn't have to be split into the right side up and the upside down. The peace you seek out there isn't in some social movement or cause or in some secret, sacred self you only have to discover. Finding peace within yourself is becoming whole and reintegrating the parts of yourself that you hate, even the parts that society says you should hate. And it's in accepting forgiveness. Because I have good news for you. You're not different. Every person fails in this important way, and even so, the God of this universe really loves you. And despite what I believed, my failures didn't have to be where my story ended. Years ago, I'd gotten myself stuck and couldn't move forward. I chose to persevere. And then I sought help, and I was renewed. And I try to remember that in that renewal, we give hope to others out there. So I'm going to keep going. And yeah, this video is late again, but I don't want to care about that anymore. I needed to finish. Because you needed to hear this. To see something else, perhaps a little more lighthearted, check out this build of Jabba's Palace. And thanks for going on this journey with me. This is the kind of stuff I want to do more of on my channel, so I hope you'll watch the next one.